Hello again, everyone. Coach KW here, and today we're going to take a look at a big picture topic. We're going to look at how you divide up the field, both in a horizontal and a vertical manner, to help you think about how the game is played, to help your players navigate where they are on the field. And in your session design, when you're training your players and you're teaching techniques and you're teaching skills, you can also start to think about where will these skills be applied? What part of the field? How will they be able to know when to use these in the right place and the right time so that you can connect the technical details that are oh so important at this age, because technical details are far more important. We said it in the first episode, and maybe I don't say it enough. Technical is the first thing we really want to be working on with these kids, but we do need to marry it to the tactical situation on the game because these kids don't have a framework to connect those two things unless we explicitly say to them, this is a good place to try this. This is a place where this skill that we're working on will go forward. So it can be helpful to think of the field as being divided up in two different ways: vertically in thirds and horizontally in thirds and or fifths. And we're going to take a look at that. We're going to focus first on this. And this is a pretty common way of looking at the field and thinking about the three zones of the field when you're playing. When you have the ball and you're building up, you're in your build-up zone. You're usually in your defensive third. You're closest to your net. As you break out and you want to maintain that ball, we're usually looking in the middle third, and that also could be that transition zone, whether you win the ball back or you lose the ball. And then, of course, we have the final third, or the attacking third, where we're focused on finding goal scoring opportunities. But also, if we lose the ball, can we win the ball high up the field? That counter pressing idea, so that we can get right back on the attack. So here you can see we're compact, we're in a defensive shape. We've seen this shape before in one of the other videos. We see we're in our defensive third. We're trying to protect the center of the field. We're trying to keep the opposition from the dangerous area, which is in front of our net. We're nice and compact, but our 9 is up in that middle third as a relief valve. If we win that ball, we want to be able to have some place to put it while we get ourselves up and away from our net, right? Then here you can see we're progressing up the field. We've now moved into that middle third. We're playing through the lines, as they say. We've now made the field big from right to left. We've spread out, but we've got good balance between the front with the striker and our center backs pushing up and our keeper starting to push up. But now we're in the middle third. Now we're in that transition zone where we're trying to make the field as big as possible, make the defenders try and cover as big a space as possible that we know is hard to do. And then finally, we're in the attacking third here. Now we're looking to create goal scoring opportunities. We're looking to come back in closer to the net. So almost, if you can think of drawing a line from the center of our net to the very far edge of the center line, down back to the other net, and you do it the other side, it almost makes a diamond. And it almost kind of describes the motion that your team has as they go from back to front and vice versa. So now we're in the attacking third. So it's helpful to think about these pieces of the field as you go from one side to the other, where you might do things in terms of shape, exercises, skills, moves, combinations, when to do something, and when not to do something. Taking on a player 1v1 when you're last defender in your defensive third probably is not the best decision if there's a better option. Taking on a defender 1v1 when you're in the middle attacking third because you have a chance at goal, lower risk, better chance of success. Maybe that's the place to do it. But again, it's giving your team kind of touch points as to where it goes as you go forward. So it's helpful to use these thirds when thinking about actions and tendencies a team should make when you're playing through. Again, in the defensive third, you want to be compact. You're trying to protect the front of the goal. In the middle third, when you're attacking, you're starting to get big and spread out and make that field be an option in every direction, forward, backwards, left, and right. Really giving yourself width and depth of the field. And then in that attacking third, you're focusing that attention on trying to make goal scoring opportunities, trying to get the ball into those dangerous areas in the middle of the field from perhaps the wide areas, pulling the opposition out wide and then finding space in behind or across to the other side with a switch. Again, you can also think of those lines of thirds in defensive terms. When you're in your defensive half, you're really tight and compact. Maybe you're playing a team that you feel like you can press high up the field. So maybe you're going to meet that team as high up the field in the attacking third with the hope that you're going to win the ball back close to their net so you can turn it right around in a transition. Maybe you're playing a team that's a little bit more skilled and you feel like you need to drop the halfway and you're going to let them have their half of the field, and then you're going to engage them when they hit the halfway line where you're a little bit more compact. You're making them have to deal with a little bit more tightness in areas because your bodies are packed in tighter, and that's the way. Or maybe you're up against it. You're against a team that you realize is just superior in terms of skill and ability, and your best option might be is to stay compact in your third, block the attacking opportunities for that team, and hope that you can win the ball and on a counterattack quickly spring forward. Taking a look at the field from left to right or from goal to goal, you can see here that we've broken up the field into 5 channels. Really, there's 3 channels. There's the left, the right, and the center, depending on which way you're facing. Then we take that center channel and we split it up into what's called the half spaces. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But just for concept here, you can see how these spaces and these channels are defined by lines that are already on the field. And this is one of these areas where I can say to my players, take out your GPS. If you're the wide 7 or 11 and you keep finding them standing in the middle of the field, then you're referring back to their GPS. Where are you supposed to be? Where is your channel? Where is your roadway? And it's easy to define when you can look at the edge of the 18s and see that roadway that you're like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. I've moved too far. Conversely, with your center backs, you want them to stay central. When they've pulled way out left or right, again, you can say to them, where are you on your GPS? Help them figure out where they're supposed to be. Those half spaces come into play because they are a strategic area, and we're going to take a look at that. So here we're attacking, we've got a couple of defenders, and we're using our wide channels and our center channels to good effect right now. And where these half spaces come into play is now in this instance, you can see the 8 has moved from the center channel to the left half space. And what they've just done now is with the 7 maintaining their width in the full channel, you've created a 2v1 against that defender that's over there. You're now making those defenders make a choice. Do both of them vacate the middle of the field to deal with the 2v1 situation? Or does one of them get pulled out wide and head to the 7, leaving the 8 alone, or vice versa? So what we're creating here is overloads by using those half spaces. You can see here, we've reset the ball back. Our 9 is a little flat on our 8. But when you take a look at this, now the 11 has moved through the right half space, and the 9 has moved into the left half space. So now that 8 has a lot of options. They can play the ball the 3 different ways, but those 2 center backs have to make choices. Who do I go with? And that's the beauty of the half space, is playing balls through the half space or making runs into the half space naturally creates angled passes and angled approaches for the ball. And anytime there's a diagonal on the field, it makes it difficult for defenders because they have to choose, do they go towards the player who has it, or do they go towards the person who could potentially receive it? And when that ball moves diagonally, it's cutting off both depth and width as it moves, creating complicating factors for those defenders. So we can use the existing lines on the 6 and the 18-yard boxes to divide the field up into fifth. You've seen that those outside channels become the zones for your 7 and 11, and they provide the width. Again, obviously, the center channel is a valuable area to defend because it's central to your goal, and just as importantly, you're trying to unlock that area when you move forward to score goals for yourself. And again, those half spaces can be vital areas. They become those no-man lands that let players make other players have to make difficult choices. And again, when we're attacking in the final third, the whole idea is to make defenders make choices to decide where to cover and what to leave open and hope that somebody makes a mistake so that you can find that free space. And as we said before, many times either passes or runs into those half spaces turn into diagonal runs, which are what we're looking our players to do. We would rather them not make square runs where they're going straight up and down the field, but going diagonally so that they go from one side to the other, taking either a defender with them or running away from a defender who gets left behind. Now we can combine it all together. And this is where it really gets interesting, because now we've got defensive thirds, middle thirds, plus now we have our channels going up and down the field. There are some pro teams that paint all these lines on the practice field. I would kill for a practice field that's painted like this. Actually, there are numbers assigned to all these zones, and there's a couple other zones if you continued the top of the 18s and just divided everything up. And they all have different zone numbers and the statistics behind them, but we're not going to get crazy. But again, using this, you can now give your players a guidebook, a map to be where they should be. When you're offensive third, here, offensive third, we're big, we're wide, we've got players in all the different spaces. We've got options here, there, and everywhere. The 5 is still covering the center channel, but the 4 has gone out wide to support the 7. Now you can see again, we've moved that ball. The 8 is moved into that space. And now we've had some other movement. We even had a reversal here where the 11 and the 9 switched. More advanced topics talk about having only one player in each zone in each channel at any one time. So the 4 and the 7 could be in that wide channel, but they're not in the same zone. One's in the middle third, one's in the attacking third. And really high-level teams can manage that rotation where they recognize if one player's moving, I can go into the space that they vacated. And it's all about that off-the-ball movement. That's the dream of any soccer coach to see their players do that, but that takes some time, definitely, to learn. Again, when we're defending, we're in a good, tight zone. We've got players guarding the front. But if that ball moves out to the far wide left channel, it's important that our wide midfielder, the 7, is the one that puts immediate pressure on. And you can see that everybody has shifted over a little bit. But the 4 and the 5, one of them maintains that center channel while the other one moves to the left half space. Both of them don't go. There's always somebody that's maintaining that balance, and the 8 has slid over, and the 11 has slid over now, because the danger is not that wide player on the 11 side or on the right side, because it's very rare that a 7v7 player is going to play a cross-field ball accurately all the way across the field. But now the 11 is ready that if there is a switch or a bouncing ball comes in towards the back post, they're there to pick up the pieces. So again, at the highest levels, combining those channels with the thirds divides the fields up in those many zones. It's advanced, but you can use this in simple ways to help your players understand where they should be as they go forward and backwards. What's their tendencies? How do they maintain their shape and change their shape as they go forward and backwards? As I said, one of the ways is I'll do a conditioned game where I'll make the wide players, the 7 and the 11, stay in the outside channel, so they have to play 1v1. And then the 2 players in the center channels, the 8 and the 9, I make them stay in the center areas, make them play 2v2, and then I allow the defenders to slide through the half spaces and center. But it forces everybody into a zone, and it forces them to work within those zones without having the freedom to move around, just to enforce that structure. Then we take those conditions away and we try to let them move around and hope that they start to find their balance as they go through the game without having those restrictions. So I hope this is useful to you to think in the big picture. I know it's an advanced topic. You're not going to get your players to understand the whole concept of this. It's very theoretical at first for them, but you can turn this into concrete action, whether it's through your training games or whether it's through as you work with your shape, which we'll do later on. All those things, you can use these zones and channels as guideposts for your players so that they can take out their GPS and figure out where they are in the field when they start to get lost. It's a great code word, if you will, to be able to yell out to your players, take out your GPS. Where are you? You're lost. And they will figure it out. And that's what you want. You want your players to become self-aware of where they are on the field with their team in the game so that they can be better and more independent players, which is in the end is what we're looking to do. So I hope you found this useful. Please share, like, comment, subscribe. I see a lot of views. We need a few subscribers on here to help push this channel into the feed so more coaches can find this information. We're all here to help each other. So until the next time, thank you so much and have a great day.